And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Bill Maher is out here taking apart woke arguments like it's his main gig, and his latest focus is none other than Whoopi Goldberg. Let's be real. The actress kind of brought it on herself, considering her growing list of awkward remarks since 2022. Maher didn't just criticize her, he broke her down verbally, bit by bit, in a takedown so harsh it had Whoopi scrambling like a cartoon figure dodging falling objects. So, what did Goldberg say this time to trigger Maher's unfiltered reaction? And how did his comeback leave the woke crowd stunned? Don't worry, we've got all the spicy details right here. Hang on tight. This isn't just a rough trip, it's a thrill ride with no restraints.
We have got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
Whoopi Goldberg has stirred the hornet's nest, and now she's facing the sting of harsh reality, and it's not a pretty sight. Remember our last video where Bill Maher tore into Sunny Hostin for trying to twist his words? Well, it seems the crew from The View isn't taking the loss quietly. This time, it's Whoopi Goldberg stepping up, apparently on a mission of payback to serve up their version of justice. Looks like Sunny couldn't handle the heat Maher brought, so she called in reinforcements, none other than Whoopi herself. And wow, she showed up fired up, ready to throw down like a reality show contestant no one invited.
And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Bill Maher didn't hold back. He flat out said that Whoopi's views are likely absurd, which is pretty standard for The View. The show has turned into the political talk show version of a disaster. Painful to sit through, yet oddly impossible to ignore. Sure, it's known for its provocative and, let's be honest, often questionable opinions on nearly every topic, but Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg somehow took the madness to a whole new level with their completely over-the-top remarks. Remember when Charlemagne the God courageously appeared as a guest? You could almost see him wondering if he'd accidentally walked into a bizarre alternate universe.
Tear down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no. It's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Here's the background. President Joe Biden, who proudly calls himself a defender of the idea that no one is above the law, just granted a pardon to his son, Hunter Biden, after, surprise, surprise, he was convicted of corruption and related charges. So much for family values, right? Naturally, this move has sparked a wave of backlash. After all, how do you reconcile the whole "no one is above the law" message when your own son walks away scot-free? It's almost like saying justice is impartial, unless your last name is Biden. Hunter's guilt was as clear as a kid with cookie crumbs all over his face, yet somehow accountability didn't make it onto the Biden family planner. And that was exactly Charlemagne's point. If the woke crowd insists no one is exempt from the law, then they should stick to their own rules. Sounds straightforward, right? Well, Whoopi didn't see it that way.
Criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right.
And there it is, another eye-roll-worthy gem from the queen of awkward takes herself, Whoopi Goldberg. This time, Whoopi actually insisted that President Biden wasn't lying when he said no one was above the law. Seriously, Whoopi? Because there's a mountain of proof, videos, recordings, and probably even ancient carvings, showing he said exactly that. Intro 6. Watching Whoopi boldly tell a flat-out lie is like seeing someone confidently claim the sky isn't blue while standing under a clear, cloudless sky. At this rate, Whoopi's verbal acrobatics could earn her a spot in the Olympics, though she'd probably stumble over her own reasoning. You could literally see the disbelief on Charlemagne's face at her remarks, but she didn't stop there. She went on to say it's possible Biden simply changed his mind because he was fed up with people walking all over him. Charlemagne was left completely speechless.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all
No,
of a sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
The issue with the woke crowd is that they only call out bad behavior when the offender isn't part of their exclusive little club. But when the wrongdoer is one of their own, suddenly the outrage shifts into a quiet defense or a convenient case of selective amnesia. Of course, Whoopi and her crew got away with their nonsense because it was Charlemagne on the show. But when Bill Maher caught wind of their antics, he said, "Hold my beer," and served up one of the best verbal takedowns we've heard in a long time.
The nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above.
Maher couldn't have put it better himself. The woke crowd loves to present themselves as the ultimate truth-tellers and moral guides, but their double standards were exposed for everyone to see this time. Hunter Biden was guilty, plain and simple, but because his father happens to occupy the White House, he gets to walk away without so much as a slap on the wrist. If this were anyone else, the mob would be demanding their head on a silver platter, but when it's one of their own, suddenly justice gets pushed aside in favor of favoritism. It's hypocrisy at its finest, and Maher was right to call it out for what it truly is, a total farce. The real question is, how much longer will Americans tolerate this two-faced behavior? It's not just about Hunter, it's about a system that bends over backwards for the powerful while throwing the book at everyone else. Maher's takedown wasn't just timely, it was a wake-up call for anyone still holding on to the illusion of fairness. But here's where it gets interesting. Maher pointed out that the woke mob often gets a helping hand from mainstream media.
So I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
You're
go out.
mis-
They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. They don't have to do it.
The media bent over backward to minimize the Hunter Biden scandal, working tirelessly to protect President Biden and sabotage Trump's re-election campaign. Major outlets brushed the story off as Russian disinformation, despite mounting evidence, while silencing opposing views. Whoopi Goldberg eagerly joined the chorus, mocking the credibility of the allegations on The View. But Maher wasn't having any of it. He called her out for playing defense instead of searching for the truth, dismantling her excuses and exposing the blatant hypocrisy for everyone to see.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit.
The ladies of The View, especially Whoopi Goldberg, aren't just woke, they're like a pack of ruthless sharks, circling and ready to tear apart anyone who doesn't share their ideology. Their version of debate isn't about discussion or truth, it's about silencing opposing views and forcing their worldview on others with sneers and sarcasm. Whoopi, in particular, has mastered the art of brushing aside dissenting opinions with a wave of her hand, as if other viewpoints are beneath her. Maher, however, wasn't afraid to call them out, exposing their tactics for what they truly are, bullying masquerading as activism. It's no surprise he's become a thorn in their side, consistently shining a light on their hypocrisy for viewers tired of one-sided narratives. Maher's takedowns are like a breath of fresh air in a room full of stale arguments.
Appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden.
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course, you don't
but
follow
I mean,
this.
saying
You gotta-
know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
Maher argues that the woke crowd needs to stop clutching their pearls over Trump's win and start facing the facts. He didn't steal it, cheat for it, or pull it out of thin air. He won it fair and square because millions of Americans liked what he was offering, no matter how much it made the progressive left cringe. Instead of blaming Russia, racism, or whatever scapegoat is trending on Twitter this week, maybe it's time to accept that democracy sometimes means the other side scores. It's not a glitch, it's the system working as it was meant to. The sooner they stop playing the victim and start thinking strategically, the better chance they'll have in 2028 or even 2032.
Above any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life, and when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
Bill Maher hits the mark again. Not everyone who voted for Trump is hosting MAGA rallies in their backyard or swearing loyalty to golden statues. Many of them held their noses and cast their votes because they were fed up with the Democrats' holier-than-thou sermons and the woke crowd's increasingly anti-common sense agenda. Let's be honest, When you're cheering for biological men to dominate women's sports or holding rallies that look suspiciously supportive of groups like Hamas, you're going to lose a portion of the electorate. People didn't vote for Trump because they loved his tweets or his fake tan. They did it because the alternative felt like being lectured by a self-righteous vegan at a barbecue. If the left wants to win, maybe it's time to stop pushing away the middle by embracing every fringe idea in the activist playbook and start focusing on what actually resonates with the average American.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. But a poll last year asked if America is the greatest country in the world. More blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Yep, it's comedy gold. Bill Maher didn't just drive the final nail into Whoopi Goldberg's coffin. He practically built the whole thing while laughing at how absurd it all was. Whoopi, the self-proclaimed high priestess of the woke crowd, decided to take a swing at Maher for daring to think for himself.
Big mistake. Maher's response?
Classic Bill. Sharp, unapologetic, and brutally funny. He pointed out the irony of a co-host from The View, a show that claims to be a platform for diverse opinions, attacking him for holding a view she didn't like. Isn't that a bit rich? A group of people who scream tolerance at every turn seems to think the word only applies to tolerating their own opinions. Maher, as usual, wasn't having any of it. He exposed the hypocrisy of the woke echo chamber that Whoopi and her crew live in, where critical thinking is replaced by blind loyalty, and dissent is treated like heresy. Watching Maher tear down their flimsy arguments was like watching Picasso paint, but using sarcasm and logic as his brushstrokes. And with that, we close the curtains on today's episode. If you liked it, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.